Hey guys, it's KJ from the Scariest Movie Ever channel on YouTube, and I got a video here I wanted to put together and show you a few things. If you're not familiar with my channel or my work, please check out some of my other videos. I do a lot of different things, but one thing that I really like to connect with is the language of symbols, the language of patterns, connecting dots, trying to form the bigger picture. We certainly don't have all the answers, but sometimes the most important thing you can do is ask the questions. And to connect all these dots, we do need to use our logic, our reason, our critical thinking skills. But when we're dealing with the spiritual, which is what I deal with quite a bit here, I also believe we need that spiritual discernment to understand these things. We also need to find confirmations with a lot of these things, because it is pretty easy just to over-speculate and get lost in that matrix, right? But all of that being said, I just wanted to cover a very interesting symbol I've seen coming up time and time again here lately, and how that ultimately connects to the pyramid system, the New World Order, the Fifth Age, the last age of man. This will be the time when the so-called Illuminati will rule everything, and we see that happening right now in every aspect of the world, politically, spiritually, economically. In media, you can't even turn on a TV anymore or go watch a movie without seeing some kind of satanic symbolism or some kind of satanic ideals being pushed forth, right? And this is all part of it. It's something I'm always saying is the veil is lifting. Well, the veil really is lifting. And I do believe that God allows us to see a lot of these things just so we can understand the times we're in and be prepared, personally, and ready, spiritually. So before I get to the symbol in question, I just want to cover a few of the basics real quick. You may be new to this, and if you're not, then these are a lot of the symbols right here that people are seeing essentially in everything, because they are in everything. I sometimes like to look at this type of research as finding the devil's fingerprints, and we find the devil's fingerprints on everything. Essentially, we are locked into a satanic system, and it's becoming all that more obvious every single day as they're becoming really blatant about the Satanism behind this. And we know that ultimately the people on the top are Luciferian. I've covered those ideas and their religion in a lot of my other videos as well. Ultimately, this is God-devil stuff. That's where we're at. We're living at a time right now that's very exciting because everything is coming out. The truth is coming out. We're seeing the deception coming out more. And this is why it's important to start understanding more of the occult language that they've been using on us for a very long time. And just to keep in mind also that all of these symbols, they all may be a little bit different or whatever, but essentially these are all bricks in the same pyramid. We find a lot of confirmations with these symbols. We find them running with a lot of the same things. We'll find them running with a lot of satanic ideas or music videos or movies or TV shows, whatever it is. We're constantly finding these confirmations, these connections with all these different bricks in the pyramid, if you will, associated with these very satanic ideas, and oftentimes very new age ideas, and even more so ideas about a coming antichrist or a coming one world leader. So as for some of the basics, of course, we have the pyramid hand sign. We've been seeing this for quite a long time, usually associated with Jay-Z. He says it has to do with the rock from Rockefeller, and we know Rockefeller is a play off of Rockefeller, a truly established high-level Illuminati family. So we got the hand signs. I know you guys have seen the hand signs. And of course, you know, we have all the pyramids and all kinds of things. Music festivals, concerts, videos, you know, those are all over the place, right? We have a lot of the eye hand signs. We have a lot of the all-seeing eye. We can see the 666 with the circle and the three branches right there, and you see the just straight up covering up the eye. Sometimes you see these combined. You'll see an amalgamation of a lot of these signs. Of course, Lady Gaga was more of a breakthrough artist when it comes to the symbolism than she was so much into the mainstream. She's a really big deal there for a long time, and she may still be, as far as I know. But as far as the information that she brought out and a lot of the occult language she brought out and the symbols she used, some really fascinating stuff. She's obviously well schooled in these mystery religions and whatnot, and has definitely played her part as an Illuminati tool in bringing a lot of this stuff out to the public. Also, I believe casting spells in a lot of these videos as well. Another one that might not be so common, but we're seeing it coming out a lot more over the last few years, has been the trident symbolism. There's a lot of research on the trident symbolism. It's not just me, I've done some videos on it as well, but we find it popping up again time and time and time, and connected, even in this case right here, with, you know, false flags. And of course we found the trident big time all around Ukraine. There's a lot of things happening when the planes went down. We got a lot of things happening with Ukraine right now. We had that creepy Maserati commercial, had the little girl saying, "We've been lying in wait and then we strike." And then shortly after that, everything went crazy in Ukraine. So that was just another one. And again, if you're not familiar with this, I figure most of you have probably seen this by now. But if you're not, just do a little research on it yourself. I have videos on it, so do other researchers out there, and it's really fascinating stuff. It's also interesting, this is covered quite a bit, but how often these so-called Illuminati symbols, and these symbols for the beast system, as I like to call it, they continually pop up in cartoons, usually kids' cartoons, even so-called adult cartoons. We'll find them there as well. Saturn's another really popular one, a very, very interesting symbol. A lot of different symbols associated with Saturn, a lot of fascinating research behind Saturn and Saturnalia cults and the ultimate connection to Satan and Satanism, and deeper than that. A lot of other people out there are fantastic on this kind of research. I've covered Saturn, just bits and pieces here and there, but once again, if you're not familiar with that, please go look into it. Absolutely fascinating. And once you start understanding the symbols associated with Saturn, it's going to blow your mind, because you're going to realize they are all around you in everything, products you use and whatnot. And again, this was a really interesting one. It was on the cover of Time magazine a while back and had to do with Prince Charles. And of course, right down there in the corner, we have a huge Saturn. So once again, no surprise to a lot of us, that connection between Saturn, Saturnalia, Satan, and the royals. And we look into the royal bloodlines, the 13 bloodlines of the Illuminati, and so forth, right? Now, there's a lesser known so-called symbol of this beast system, but it's something that's been popping up a lot, especially over the last decade, really. It was even back in the X-Files series, if you remember that show. My friend on YouTube here, the Grox, you can look up the Grox1 channel if you're interested. He's done a lot of work on this black goo. Oftentimes it seems to be associated with some form of possession, or with kind of an all-encompassing one mind taking over everything in its path. A Borg system almost, if you will, like from Star Trek. You can look at this as maybe spiritual possession on a massive level. And then there's the shark. I've covered the shark in a few other videos as well, and this one's been popping up time and time again. This is a screenshot from an animation called I, Pet, Goat 2. If you're not familiar with it, please go check it out. To understand it, though, please understand you're going to need some form of spiritual discernment to understand what you're seeing here. I, Pet, Goat 2 is some really deep and heady stuff. It's a huge puzzle, and there's so many people have been deciphering it for so long. And the fascinating thing is, they're probably all right, okay? Because there's so many levels to what's going on with this I, Pet, Goat 2. Either way, the shark showed up in I, Pet, Goat 2. But the shark's been showing up in a lot of other places as well. We even saw the sharks on stage a while back there with Katy Perry during the Super Bowl, right? There's even a picture I put in another video of LeBron James holding up the Illuminati hand sign with a huge shark on his shirt, right? But that's just one. Again, there's a lot of different ones out there. I've covered it already before. But ultimately, I see it as just one more brick, like I said, in that so-called pyramid, the symbolism pyramid. Essentially, it's just showing us, though, that the beast is rising. The beast is coming. The Antichrist is on the way. Now, the symbol I wanted to talk about is the octopus. The Illuminati Octopus, right? Well, not exactly. And as I said before, you can essentially look at all of these different symbols as branches from the same tree, ultimately meaning the same thing. The end is near, for real. So this right here was from one of the Olympic ceremonies a while back, and a lot of people did videos on this whole ceremony. I did as well. So much symbolism happening there. It was just insane. And really, since then, we've seen it just go non-stop. I mean, it's at the Super Bowl now, right? It's all over the place. So they literally do these public prophetic plays right before the public's eyes. And so few people see all the things they're doing. But man, it gets deep, right? So the octopus. Now, I've actually covered the octopus symbolism in some other videos as well, just touched on it. But the reason I made this video is I recently saw some really interesting examples pop up. But the octopus. Now, there's actually a really long history to octopus symbolism. The symbolism of the octopus is played out in so many different arenas and in so many different ways, but so many times it essentially represents the same thing. This kind of goes back to that black goo I was talking about, or that Borg, or that kind of one mind system, one consciousness. And this even extends into some of that transhumanism stuff. Now, a lot of people have covered that as well. That whole idea that they want us all to be of one mind, right? Connected through computers and humans, and connecting computers, connecting humans. human computers. So we see it once again played out as kind of an all-encompassing evil. It's tentacles into everything, right? I wanted to show you this really interesting connection between this octopus symbolism and the beast system, and even a little bit of a religious history here with it as well. In the decades surrounding the turn of the 20th century, it was actually very common to describe Mormonism as an octopus. In fact, the phrase Mormon octopus was ubiquitous to the point of functioning more like a name than a figure of speech. In some instances, the octopus metaphor appeared only indirectly. Mormonism had tentacles. The octopus and its metaphoric cousins were almost always pejorative, like the intelligence of the United States and the religious consciousness of the nation have long since branded Mormonism as an octopus, an enemy of the public welfare. Back in 1911, Alfred Henry Lewis wrote a famous article called The Viper on the Hearth, and it illustrated the dominance of the octopus metaphor in Mormonism, and you can see it right here on the screen. The metaphor is a viper. There are 9 different viper images accompanying the 12-page article, and all the words octopus and tentacle are absent. However, the full main illustration of the church president Joseph Smith as an octopus is sitting right there bottom left. For an interesting confirmation, we have the serpents here. Of course, serpents connected with the octopus, connected with the beast system, the serpent system. So of course, as with all these other so-called Illuminati symbols, it always comes back to pop culture, right? This is one of the most important tools that that system has to indoctrinate us into this kind of system, into these ideas as well. So you may remember the Red Skull from the Captain America movies. You can see the emblem right there, and that's from Hydra, that's his group. And he's supposed to be like a Nazi agent. And the idea, of course, behind the organization of Hydra is, well, what do you expect? World domination, right? They want to take over everything. There's something else about Hydra I wanted to show you here. This is really clever, the way they did their symbol. I haven't seen anybody else point this out, but they may have, and if so, that's great. It's really clever the way they did their symbol here. I mean, of course, you see the tentacles and you see the skull head. If you look a little bit closer, though, all 6 of those are 6s. And the first 3 on the left-hand side are just a 666, right? Now this is where their duality comes in, and we talk about this a lot, the as above, so below, even the checkerboard patterns in the Mason lodges, back to duality again. So we see a lot of this. We see a lot of this mirroring, this mirror universe stuff take place as well. Anyway, right here, when I first saw that, I was just like, well, look at that. I mean, they got the 666 in the front, and then they split it, and they have another 666 right there in reverse. So they have the duality. They have the mirror effect. They got the 666 and they got the 666. But that's where the confirmations come back. Again, you'll find a lot of these things associated with one another. Ultimately, branches of the same tree. So isn't it interesting then that we have this new Bond movie coming out, and the bad guys in this, it's a group called Spectre. And Spectre, of course, once again, are bent on what? World domination. That's right. And if you can see right there, it's a small screenshot from the latest trailer. But that's their emblem. It's the octopus. So we have these evil hidden organizations that are working behind the scenes that ultimately want world domination by turning all these other countries and people against each other, right? Does that sound familiar? Once again, we see the same idea of this fifth age, the New World Order, all this stuff played out and connected with a lot of the same symbols. Now, here's the one I wanted to show you I thought was really interesting. I was actually watching Walking Dead just before I saw that commercial for Spectre, and I saw the octopus there. And just before that played, during this scene right here in Walking Dead, this is one of the characters, Michonne. She's in a bedroom, and right behind her is this huge picture, of course, of what? An octopus. And then I got my confirmation. In the very same scene, they split, and they show you the wall behind her. And you can see right over her right shoulder, once again, looks like tentacles, right? So we have kind of another octopus type symbol just over her shoulder. And then there was the commercial for Spectre, right? So once again, the octopus. One more thing I'll show you. Spectre has been the bad guy in one of the old school 007 movies, and as you can see right here, it's From Russia with Love. And I thought that was really interesting as well. So we have the octopus symbolism returning, this old connection to From Russia with Love. We know that Russia's definitely a big player now, as it seems that we're on the verge of what may be World War III, right? Seems like we're right there. As I said, these are different bricks of the same pyramid, different branches of the same tree, but it's all very interesting, and I always like to show it to you when I can. And just remember that I don't show you this stuff to scare you. I'm showing this to prepare you, because this is where we're at and this is what's happening around us. Thanks for checking out the video, and I'll talk to you later.